The more we know, the less we understand. Picture a room full of people, everyone talking at once, empty laughter, lines copied from some meme. Noise isn't the same as voice. Have you ever wondered why it feels like we think less every year? We feel less. We understand less. We live in the age of infinite information. All of humanity's wisdom fits in your pocket. And yet the paradox is brutal. The more we know, the more superficial we become. Abundance became our poverty, emptier conversations by the day, debates reduced to shouting and labels, young people who know more about an influencer's life than their own history. The noise grows, but meaning fades. And the worst part is that many already accept this as normal. Your day isn't short on information. What's missing is the silence needed to turn it into thought of your own. Stay until the end. Because the causes of this decline run deeper than they seem, and there's a real way to resist it. No one said it would be easy. More information, less wisdom. The great trap. We've never had so much knowledge within reach. We literally carry a library bigger than Alexandria's in our pocket. And still, we feel like we know less every day. We know more and understand less. The paradox is obvious. We're surrounded by information, yet lack wisdom. It's like drinking seawater. The more we drink, the thirstier we get. Think about how many times a day you open your phone just to check something and end up trapped for hours in a chain of videos you won't even remember. How often you read only a headline without checking what it actually says. That's not an accident. It's design. The platforms you use were built to keep you hooked, not to make you wiser. Their logic isn't truth. It's attention. And in that system, whatever's simplest, fastest, and most emotional wins. The system rewards the simple. Studies show our average attention span has dropped significantly over the last decade. Not because we got less intelligent, but because we live bombarded by stimuli that train the brain to crave the instant. One 15-second video pulls the next, which pulls the next, never leaving room for reflection. Notice your own day. How many times did you switch tabs, apps, videos just in the last 2 hours? Each switch is tiny, almost invisible, but added up they form a pattern that trains your mind to never actually finish anything. Constant switching trains you to flee. The irony is that the more we know superficially, the less capable we become of understanding deeply. Knowing 1,000 scattered facts isn't the same as grasping reality. Memory can be full, while awareness stays empty. That has a serious consequence. A society unable to tell true from false, important from irrelevant, becomes a vulnerable, manipulable, fragile society. And the source of that fragility lives much closer to us than any algorithm. The system your brain prefers to use. Why does society choose shallow over deep? The answer isn't only out there in social media, it's in how your own mind works. The answer lives inside, not outside. Psychologist Daniel Kahneman, Nobel laureate in economics, explained that we run on 2 thinking systems. The first is fast, intuitive, lets you react instantly, survive. The second is slow, reflective, demands effort, energy, patience. Guess which one we prefer to use most of the time? Exactly. Your brain is wired to save energy, which is why it favors quick answers, simple explanations, instant certainty. Your brain always hunts for shortcuts. The problem is, the world learned to exploit exactly that weakness. Social media, advertising, politics, all designed to speak directly to System 1, the automatic, emotional, impulsive kind of thinking. Result: we exercise critical thinking less and less. Think about it, reading a philosophy essay that challenges your beliefs or watching a short video that hands you a packaged opinion in 20 seconds. Most people choose the second, and slowly, the whole society gets used to thinking less. Kahneman used to say System 2 is lazy by nature, not by lack of capacity. It exists, it works, but it only kicks in when forced, and most of the time, System 1 handles everything alone, without asking permission, without checking, without doubting. Haste wins by default. One of Kahneman's favorite examples was simple. Ask someone, A bat and a ball cost $1.10 together. The bat costs $1 more than the ball. How much does the ball cost? The intuitive answer, almost everyone says, is 10 cents. It's wrong. The correct answer is 5 cents, but only whoever stops to do the math calmly gets there instead of trusting the first number that pops into their head. That's not chance. It's business. The content that wins isn't the most truthful, it's the most viral. MIT researchers, led by Soroush Vouzouki, analyzed millions of posts and found that false news spreads significantly faster than true news precisely because it's designed to hit emotion. An exciting lie travels farther than a boring truth, and in that dynamic, depth always loses to superficiality. But this pattern of fleeing complexity had already been described with unsettling precision by a 19th century German philosopher. The last man has already arrived. Friedrich Nietzsche warned about the arrival of the last man, a human being who flees effort, seeks only comfort, avoids anything that demands thinking or suffering. Fleeing effort became the goal. That last man feels closer every day. What was once a latent danger became a lifestyle. Intellectual comfort became the norm, and the worst part is we've already gotten used to it. It no longer surprises anyone to see someone arguing online about a topic they don't understand, with a confidence that rests on nothing. It no longer shocks anyone to see an absurd idea go viral, while valuable reflections go unnoticed. Superficiality became normal. Nonsense trends, reflection goes unseen. Stupidity is a choice, not chance. And here's the central point. Stupidity isn't born only from ignorance. It's born from voluntarily giving up thought. It's more comfortable not to question. It's easier to repeat what others say. It's faster to get outraged than to analyze. Nietzsche saw the root of a decline that wasn't even about lack of intelligence. It was about lack of courage, the courage to suffer, to doubt, to carry the weight of your own questions instead of outsourcing the answer to whatever voice is loud enough. He wrote this at the end of the 19th century, decades before radio, television, or the internet existed. And yet, his description of the last man reads as if he'd been watching a social media feed. People satisfied with the bare minimum, with no hunger for greatness, no desire to risk anything worthwhile. But today, that psychological mechanism no longer works alone. There's an ancient image, over 2,000 years old, that describes with unsettling precision the final result of that comfort. There's something even more unsettling in all this. This decline isn't an accident, it's a strategy. The more automatically someone thinks, the easier they are to steer. A population that reacts with quick emotions is far easier to manipulate than one that reflects slowly. The psychological problem becomes a political one. And centuries before Nietzsche, another philosopher had already described this exact trap, only with an image that still defines our era. The cave changed, the shadows remain. Plato, over 2,000 years ago, described men chained inside a cave, watching shadows on the wall and believing that was reality itself. Shadows always looked like reality. In the original story, when one of the prisoners is forced out of the cave, he doesn't feel relief right away. He feels pain. The sunlight hurts eyes used to darkness, and his first instinct is to want to go back inside, to the familiar comfort of the shadows. Today, those shadows no longer come from fire. They come from screens. We live surrounded by projections, fragments, digital illusions we mistake for real truth. And what happens when someone tries to break free and look at the light? Just like in the cave, many reject it, attack it, because truth hurts more than comfortable illusion. Light unsettles the dark adjusted. Carl Jung, centuries later, explained why that rejection runs so deep. True human maturity requires facing your own shadow, your own contradictions, your own discomfort. But our current culture is obsessed with the simple, with quick answers, with anything that avoids pain. We reject complexity as if it were the enemy, when it's actually the only road to wisdom. Rejecting pain rejects wisdom. Jung said that avoided shadow never disappears on its own. It just waits, building pressure until it finds some way out, whether as anxiety, as anger disproportionate to small things, or as that emptiness that shows up out of nowhere on a Sunday afternoon. In a society that collectively rejects its own shadow, that build-up doesn't stay contained inside each individual. It spills out as polarization, as online hatred, as arguments that explode over reasons wildly disproportionate to the original topic. It's the collective shadow knocking at the door, with no one willing to recognize their own reflection in it. This pattern repeats throughout all of history. Entire civilizations fell not only to outside invasions, but to their own internal decay. And there's an ancient example that seems to have been written about the present. Bread and circuses never went out of style. The Roman Empire weakened not only from barbarians at its borders, but from a society lulled to sleep by luxury, spectacle, easy bread. The famous bread and circuses was never just entertainment. It was a tool of control. A distracted crowd never revolts. Roman poet Juvenal summed it up in 2 words: panem et circenses. Rulers kept the population calm with food and entertainment, while corruption and decay advanced without any resistance. The curious detail is that Juvenal wasn't writing like someone discovering something new. He wrote like someone who'd already watched this game running for generations, in an empire that had traded its own critical sense for a full arena and a full stomach. 2 immediate cravings, easy to supply, hard to refuse. Today we live the digital version of that. Memes, series, short videos, manufactured controversies that keep us busy while what actually matters crumbles around us. No one needs to chain you. You chose the most comfortable chains yourself, those of endless entertainment. No one needed to chain you. Writer Neil Postman, in his book Amusing Ourselves to Death, had already anticipated exactly this. He argued that the greatest danger to democracy wouldn't be direct censorship, but the trivialization of thought itself. It wouldn't be a tyrant banning books. It would be an entire culture that stops reading because it prefers to be entertained. We don't need any tyrant. Postman wrote this decades before social media existed, watching only television, and still described with unsettling precision the mechanism that now operates on a far larger scale. Today, we don't need a dictator to take away our freedom. We hand it over ourselves in exchange for constant entertainment. He drew an important distinction between 2 dystopias: George Orwell's, where power bans information, and Aldous Huxley's, where power drowns information in so much entertainment that no one wants to seek truth anymore. Postman believed we were increasingly living inside the second one. The real dystopia is endless fun. And there's a thinker who described exactly how this kind of control works from the inside, with no visible villain needed to hold the reins. Modern power needs no visible villain. French philosopher Michel Foucault explained that modern power doesn't need to impose itself through explicit violence. It works by shaping what we think, what we desire, what we consider normal. And one of its most effective methods is controlling attention. Every notification, every trending topic, every wave of outrage is a way of capturing your mind, so it never focuses on what actually matters. Shaping desire is the new weapon. Foucault called this type of control disciplinary power, exercised not from a single central point, but spread throughout entire institutions, school, media, work, even the way we organize our free time. No one needs to give the order directly. The whole system was already designed to produce the desired behavior on its own. Control has no fixed center. Think of how this works in practice. No one forces you to check your phone the moment you wake up, but the app was designed by an entire team of behavioral specialists specifically to create that habit without you noticing the hand behind it. No one forces, yet everyone obeys. Foucault called this governmentality, a way of steering people's conduct with no explicit order needed at all. You think you freely chose to spend 2 hours scrolling. In practice, an entire system of rewards was built, tested, and refined over years, specifically to get you there. In that sense, collective stupidity isn't just a cultural accident. It's also political and economic strategy. The less a person thinks, the more docile they become. And this engineering of distraction finds the perfect partner in another institution that should be doing exactly the opposite. The school that teaches you not to think. For centuries, education was conceived as the art of shaping the mind, teaching how to think, cultivating curiosity. Today, in many places, it's become just memorizing facts to pass a test. School became an answer factory. Schools and universities, trapped in the logic of productivity, prepare students not to understand the world, but to perform on standardized tests. The result is entire generations trained to repeat answers, yet unable to formulate real questions. Philosopher John Dewey warned about this over a century ago. Education isn't preparation for life. Education is life itself. And yet, what we have today is a system that kills creativity and critical thinking in the name of efficiency. Efficiency killed curiosity. Dewey advocated for an education built on real experience, on solving concrete problems, on thinking together, not memorizing alone for a test you'll forget a week later. Decades after his death, most of the world's schools still run exactly the way he criticized. Think of the last time you memorized something just for a test, and today barely remember any of it. Compare that with something you learned because you needed to solve a real, curious, urgent problem. The difference in retention isn't subtle. It's enormous, and most education systems still ignore it. Add to that the culture of immediacy. Instead of sages, we have influencers. Instead of teachers, we celebrate celebrities. Knowledge is no longer measured by the depth of an idea, but by follower count. In this world, popular gets confused with true, and depth falls behind because thinking slowly doesn't generate clicks. Followers replaced wisdom. Notice what this changes in practice. A teenager today can probably describe in detail the routine of an influencer they've never met, but hesitates trying to explain a historical event that shaped the very country they were born in. That's not lack of capacity. It's a matter of where attention got directed, repeatedly, year after year. Culture, education, and power work together, consciously or not, to build a sedated society. And the most serious part is that most people don't even notice, because they believe constant distraction is freedom when it's actually the most sophisticated form of slavery ever devised. But this subtle slavery charges a price, and it shows up in 4 very specific layers. The price you pay without noticing. The first consequence is political. A society unable to think critically is fertile ground for manipulation. Speeches turn into empty slogans, phrases that stir emotion but explain nothing. Empty speech still stirs emotion. Instead of debate, we get spectacle. Instead of reflection, tribalism. Politics becomes shouting, whoever yells loudest, whoever divides best into teams that no longer talk, only attack each other. And when reason disappears, democracy weakens along with it. Notice how public debates today rarely change anyone's mind, not because the arguments are bad, but because no one's actually there to listen. They're there to confirm their own team and root against the other, as if it were a game, not a decision affecting the real lives of millions. The second consequence is cultural. Superficiality becomes normal. Influencers who build success on scandal or exaggeration become role models for millions of people. Fame gets confused with wisdom. Exposure gets confused with worth. Fame never equaled worth. The third consequence is social. A community that can't think together loses its ability to build a future. Each person trapped in their own bubble of distractions erodes the sense of the collective. Society fragments into isolated individuals, obsessed with their own validation, unable to cooperate on any shared project. Isolated bubbles build nothing. And the fourth consequence, the quietest of all, is personal. When you accept the noise without question, you give up your own inner freedom. You stop owning your mind and become a product of algorithms, of propaganda, of whatever others decided you should think. Think of the last time you formed a strong opinion about something, then try to remember exactly where that opinion came from. Did it come from your own reflection, or from a 30-second video you don't even remember watching? Your opinion might not be yours. That's the hidden cost. We don't just lose quality in our institutions, we lose quality in our own existence. A life without reflection slides toward mediocrity without you noticing the movement happening. But contrary to how it seems, this decline isn't a fixed destiny. It's a daily choice, and there's a concrete path back. The way back: 6 acts of resistance. Are we doomed to sink into this spiral, or is there a way to resist? The answer is clear. Yes, there's a path back. It's just not easy, fast, or popular. A way back exists, at cost. The first step is reclaiming your attention. Your mind is the most valuable resource you have, and yet you hand it over for free to screens. Every time you consciously choose what to consume, instead of letting the algorithm drag you along, you're already practicing an act of resistance. The second step is cultivating slow reflection. In a world that rewards speed, thinking slowly has become an almost revolutionary act. Reading a whole book instead of a summary. Having a deep conversation instead of trading quick lines. Stopping to write your own ideas instead of just reacting to others. Speed became the new religion. The third step is embracing complexity. Not everything reduces to a yes or no, one side or the other, a short phrase. Life is ambiguous, contradictory, difficult, and it's exactly in that uncomfortable ground that real wisdom is born. Refusing easy answers is refusing manipulation. The fourth step is building conscious community. No one becomes wise in total isolation. Philosophy, since Socrates, has always been dialogue. Surround yourself with people who challenge you to think, not just people who confirm what you already believe. Real dialogue requires real disagreement. Socrates never wrote a single book. His entire philosophy happened in the public square, talking, questioning, being challenged. He believed truth was born precisely from friction between different ideas, never from the comfort of only talking to people who already think like you. The fifth step is reclaiming memory. We can't let the past dissolve into the avalanche of irrelevant novelty. History isn't decoration, it's a strict teacher. Rediscovering classical thinkers isn't nostalgia, it's resistance. Finally, the sixth step is reclaiming silence. We live surrounded by noise, but rarely hear what matters most, our own inner voice. Philosopher Søren Kierkegaard already warned about this. Constant noise pulls us away from ourselves. Practicing silence is a way of becoming the owner of your own being again. Silence gives you back to yourself. Kierkegaard wrote this in the 19th century, looking at newspapers and coffeehouse chatter as sources of distraction. If he already considered that too much noise, it's hard to imagine what he'd say, seeing an average person receiving, on average, over 100 notifications a day, each one competing for that same fragmented attention. Each of these steps might seem too small, but history shows that great changes always start with conscious minorities who refuse to stay sedated. You don't need the whole of society to wake up at once. It's enough for a few people to choose to think differently to light the first spark. So what will you choose from here? The real danger isn't society getting dumber. The real danger is you accepting that as inevitable. Because the moment you bow your head and convince yourself there's nothing to be done, you stop being part of the resistance and become part of the problem. Accepting the inevitable is already defeat. Collective stupidity feeds on individual silence. You have more power than you think. Not to change the whole world at once, but to change your world, your mind, your surroundings. And when one person does that, they inspire others to do the same. That's how quiet revolutions begin. The ones that never make headlines, but transform history from below. Real wisdom was never the majority. Socrates was condemned for unsettling his city. Galileo was silenced for challenging dogma. Martin Luther King was persecuted for dreaming of a different world. In every era, those who dared to think differently were seen as crazy, dangerous, or inconvenient. And yet, it was exactly those people who lit the torch that later illuminated millions. An uncomfortable few change history. Notice that none of these three names asked society for permission before thinking differently. Socrates kept asking uncomfortable questions, even knowing it would cost him his life. Galileo kept his observations even under threat from the church. King kept speaking even under constant surveillance and real threats. None of them waited for the environment to feel safe before acting. None of them started big, either. Socrates talked to one person at a time in the square with no microphone, no guaranteed audience. The change he set in motion took centuries to fully spread, but it began exactly the way any real transformation begins. Small, local, almost invisible at the moment it happens. Today, the choice is yours. Follow the flow of distraction, of ease, of comfort, or dare to be different, cultivate your own mind, think deeply in a world that's nearly forgotten what thinking even means. Ask yourself, are you feeding your mind or lulling it to sleep? Are you using your time to grow or to dissolve into the irrelevant? Do you own your own attention, or are you handing it over for free to whoever profits from your passivity? Your attention is the only vote. Every time you choose reflection over distraction, silence over noise, truth over comfort, you strengthen collective intelligence. Don't wait for society to change first so you can change after. The transformation starts here, with you, now. If this hit home, don't let it fade from memory. Next time you feel the pull to lose yourself in banality, remember, in that instant, you're deciding what kind of world you want to live in. The more we know, the less we understand.